Hello everybody, welcome to Roll. Anne Bryant here, children's author. I've been reading to you from Poppy's Secret Wish from my series Ballerina Dreams. We got up to the end of chapter 7. I'm now going to carry on from chapter 8, which is called Goosebumps. After school, Mum came to collect me and Stevie. She was standing at the gate as usual, chatting to Mark Mason's mum, so I hung around with Mia, waiting impatiently for her to finish. I didn't want to be even 10 seconds late setting off for ballet. I wanted to make sure I had enough time to run through the sequence with Jasmine before the class started. But I got a shock because when I looked again, Mum wasn't talking to Mark's mum anymore. She was talking with Mrs. Appleton and looking very serious. My heart did a massive yo-yo and my body went all tense with worry. They had to be talking about me and Archie. Mum was going to be really cross. I could just imagine her telling me off all the way home. That was the trouble with adults. They were the only ones who were allowed to talk when they were telling you off. And if you dared to interrupt, they said you were being cheeky. I just have to make sure I said the word bullying right at the very beginning, because that would make her listen. Once I'd got her to listen, I'd explain about how they were ganging up on me. I've got to go. Bye, Mia. Come on, Stevie, we're going, Mum called when she saw me walking across to her. Bye, Poppy, see you tomorrow. Mia was so lucky. She didn't have to worry about getting told off or having her whole life ruined because of not being chosen for a ballet exam. The moment we got in the car, Stevie started telling Mum about football. You should have seen me, Mum. I was absolutely wicked. Mr. Palmer said I did really good footwork. When we got back to the classroom, he gave me this sticker. Look, it says I'm a star, see? Stevie was leaning forward, tapping Mum on the shoulder. Sit down, Stevie, and put your seatbelt back on. I'll look when we get home. Uh-oh, Mum didn't sound very happy, and I could easily guess why. Stevie didn't seem to notice. He was too full of his goal. Mr. Palmer's written football on the sticker, Mum. Now it says I'm a football star. Clever, isn't it? Mum's voice reminded me of a pair of nail clippers. Yes, well done, Stevie. Is your seatbelt done up properly? He said I was a dead cert for the first team next year. What is a dead cert? No answer. I could see the side of Mum's face from where I was sitting. It looked as though the bones were moving in her jaw. She was definitely thinking very cross thoughts. I was dreading getting home. Half of me wanted to get the telling off over with right here and now, but the other half thought that if I kept quiet, Mum might just forget about it. The moment we got home, Stevie kicked off his shoes and rushed off to watch cartoons, and I went whizzing off to do my hair and get my ballet things ready. I was halfway up the stairs when Mum's voice stopped me. I want a word with you, young lady. Goosebumps came up under my school sweatshirt. Come into the kitchen. I shot back down as fast as possible because I was so anxious about ballet. I couldn't be late on this most important day in the world, and the traffic was always really bad if we were even the teensiest bit late. I know what you're going to say, Mum, and it wasn't my fault. Honestly, I double promise. It was Archie, big bully cook, and his friend saying nasty stuff about ballet. Hold it right there, Poppy. Another coating of goosebumps sprang up all over me. Mum put her hands on her waist. Mrs. Appleton has told me the full story, Poppy. You pushed Archie over hard, and he hurt himself. I couldn't believe that a daughter of mine did that. I don't know what Dad'll say. But don't interrupt. It's all too easy to blame the boys these days, but on this occasion, Poppy, you were the bully. I wasn't. It's not fair. Which bit isn't fair? Did you push Archie Cook over or not? Yes, but it was because he was making fun of me. I knew my voice was getting louder, but I couldn't help it. And they made a circle round me and I couldn't get out. Mum pressed her hands together and put them in front of her lips, frowning. Made a circle? I thought that I was making her understand at last, but then I suddenly caught sight of the clock and my whole body stiffened. Oh no, I'm going to be late for ballet. We've got to go right now or I'll get killed. I'll tell you in the car, okay? There was no time for another word. I just belted out and pulled the door behind me. Unfortunately, it slammed. Come back here. Mum sounded really angry now. Please, can't I tell you about it in the car? I said, poking my head round the kitchen door and trying to sound sensible and grown up, even though I felt like screaming the place down. No, you can't, because you're not going to ballet. The blood seemed to drain right out of my face and down my neck and my body until I was completely wobbly and weak. What? Come in properly and close the door, Mum went on in her icy voice. I haven't finished talking about what happened today, and you do not go racing off when I'm right in the middle of talking to you. I stood with my head hanging down. This was the worst moment of my life. Can I have a sandwich, Mum? Stevie had come sliding into the kitchen, which he always does when he's only got socks on his feet. Mum doesn't usually mind, but today she was in too much of a bad mood to put up with it. I'll bring you one in a minute. I'm just talking to Poppy. Stevie stopped sliding and stood with his legs wide apart. He could tell something was wrong. What are you talking about? I was about to tell him to mind his own business when he suddenly answered his own question. I bet it's Archie Cook. I looked up then. Mum was frowning. What do you know about that? I heard Mrs. Appleton telling you that Archie hurt his wrist. Stevie was slowly going down into a sort of sideways splits as his feet were sliding further apart. So the next bit of what he said came out as grunts. Only he never did hurt it. Mum marched over to Stevie and plonked him into a normal standing position. Then she tilted his chin to make him look at her. Stand still and talk properly. Stevie did as he was told. I just saw Archie laughing behind Mrs. Appleton's back, that's all. Laughing? Yeah, when Poppy was getting told off. My eyes widened. I wanted Stevie to keep going, but I could tell he was getting hungry because his eyes kept darting over to the loaf of bread. And how do you know that Archie hadn't hurt his wrist? Asked Mum. Because he was waving it about, showing off and pulling faces right behind Mrs. Appleton's back when she was being cross with Poppy. Then the moment she turned round, he pretended it was hurting again. Now Mum's eyes were widening. They looked like big buttons. She didn't seem to be able to speak for a few seconds, but then it was as though someone had bashed her on the back and made the words come shooting out. Go on then, Poppy, get your stuff, quick, we'll talk in the car. I could have hugged Stevie, but there was no time. I couldn't waste a single second. I had to get to ballet on time. Chapter 9, Last Chance. Calm down, love. I can't calm down, I'm all worried. All my wishing had come to nothing, because here we were stuck in a great long line of traffic moving very slowly. I yanked my leotard and tights out of my bag. I'm going to get changed right now, Mum. People might see your pants, said Stevie, grinning. Don't be silly, Stevie. Just calm down, Poppy. I'll come in and explain to Miss Corley. No, parents don't come in. Not ever, Mum. You can't. I wriggled out of my school skirt and managed to get my tights on without undoing the seatbelt for more than 10 seconds. Be good if we had a police siren, wouldn't it, said Stevie. Then he made the noise of a siren right until I got my leotard on. Oh, do be quiet, Stevie. I can't drive with all that racket going on. I felt a bit better because I'd only got my hair to do, but my heart was still beating faster than usual because we were going so slowly. Mum was making tutting noises and craning her neck out of the car window. This doesn't look too good. What? I felt like crying. I'd just spotted the clock in the front and it said 4:25. The class started at past. Look, Poppy, there's nothing we can do about it, so stop getting yourself in a state. But I couldn't stop. I was in a state. And I was frantically rummaging through my bag looking for my hairband. It wasn't there. Oh no, I haven't got my hairband. What am I going to do? And then I did burst into tears. The clock said 4:28 and our car wasn't moving at all. Why isn't the light changed to green? I asked Mum through my tears. I'm afraid it's changed already, love, said Mum, doing a big sigh. There's just so much traffic. It's because we set off that bit later. She turned round and gave me a sorrowful smile. Put your hair in a bun, love. You've got plenty of grips, haven't you? I nodded miserably and started doing what she said. Look, we're moving, said Stevie. I sat up straight to look, but we only moved about 2 metres. And when I saw the clock, I started going mad, shouting and crying at the same time. It's past. I'm going to be late for definite now. And everyone will stare, and I haven't even got a hairband, and that'll make them stare harder. It's no good. I can't go. Let's go home. Oh, no, we really are moving now, said Stevie. Look, it's on green. Go on, Mum. Get through it, quick. And a few seconds later, we were in the high street, but we were still only crawling along. Bet Poppy could run faster than this car's going, said Stevie. I unclicked my seatbelt. Yes, can I, Mum? No, it's too far on your own. We'll be there in a minute. Oh, please, Mum, you can watch me all the way. I'll leave my bag in the car and just take my ballet shoes, please. We'd stopped again, and I think that's what made Mum agree. Go on, then. I'll see you at the end of the lesson. Bye, darling. I shot out of the car and ran harder than I've ever run before, feeling silly because of wearing my ballet uniform with my school shoes in the middle of such a busy road. When I got to the heavy door, I crashed my body against it, and it opened so easily that I fell over just inside. It hurt a bit, but I just got up and carried on running up the steps. By the time I was at the top, I was completely puffed out. It was the plie music, so I'd only missed one thing. I quickly put on my ballet shoes and noticed that there was a big black mark on my tights. That must have happened when I fell over downstairs. I gulped and rubbed it, but it only went smudgy, so I left it and chucked my shoes in the changing room, then stood glued to the floor outside room 1. A little voice inside my head said, "You can't go in looking like that, Poppy." But another fierce little voice said, "Just go, Poppy." Before I could change my mind, I pressed my thumbs together, then took a deep breath and pushed open the door. I didn't look at anyone, just said, "Sorry I'm late," in a bit of a squeaky voice, and went over to Jasmine. Her eyes were full of questions as she bunched up closer to Amy Pearson to make room for me. I knew everyone was staring at me, so I couldn't say anything, and anyway, Miss Coralie wanted to get on. "Battement tendu, preparation, and..." I caught sight of myself in one of the mirrors and wished I could disappear into thin air. I looked such a mess. My face was bright red. It was obvious I'd been crying, and my bun was nearly falling out. Then was that awful black mark on my tights. Miss Coralie was using her no-nonsense counting voice, moving along the line with her straightest back and sternest face. When she got to me, she lifted my arm up. "No hairband, Poppy?" "We were in a big hurry," I whispered, trying to keep my turnout and my point. She moved on to Jasmine and then to Lottie, all the time counting in a louder voice than usual. My heart was still thudding from running so hard, but now it was thudding from nervousness too. It wasn't till we were over halfway through the bar work that I felt normal again. I had a quick glance round and saw that no one was looking at me anymore, thank goodness. Right, from now on, I was going to concentrate like mad and not let anything put me off, especially Rose Bedford. I suddenly realised that I'd completely forgotten about Rose until now. She was on the bar on the opposite wall with her hair looking bobbly and bumpy again, her hairband pressing her eyebrows down and her big leotard in wrinkles all over her tummy. There was something different about her though, only I couldn't work out what. "And 1 and close and 2nd and close, derriere and close and 2nd and close," said Miss Coralie, walking slowly around, watching everyone with her eagle eye. "And 1 and 2 and use your heads, don't roll your feet, and straighten knees." The music came to an end, but Miss Coralie wanted to do the whole exercise again. "A lot of you are gripping the bar far too tightly," she said. "Come a step away and we'll try it without holding on at all." I glanced at Rose. She'd already taken a step away from the bar and had prepared her arms and everything. It was really strange. She seemed to be trying so hard, considering she hated ballet. And that reminded me of how she'd put her hair in a neat bun at school, even though she must have known the boys would tease her about it. I didn't understand Rose. She was a mystery girl. "Concentrate, Poppy," came Miss Coralie's voice, and I realised I'd slipped into a daydream. Immediately I told myself off. "You stupid thing, Poppy." Then I made a promise inside my head that from now on I would do my double best every single second of the rest of the lesson. When it was rond de jambe, Miss Coralie actually tipped her head on one side and said, "Lovely, Poppy." I wanted to skip around the room shouting, "Yes!" But I made myself stay completely still, as though I hadn't even heard her. Then it was time for the centre work. "Right, let's have the same rows as last week, but all move forward 1 row, and the front row from last week go to the back." "Excuse me, Miss Coralie." It was Rose who had spoken. Everyone stared at her because it's so unusual to hear anyone's voice except Miss Coralie's in ballet lessons. "Can I change rows, please?" Miss Coralie looked a bit puzzled. "Change rows? Why?" Because I was wondering if I could go on the back row today." "Why?" "So that I can copy better, because there'll be more people in front of me, you see." Everyone waited to see what Miss Coralie would say. "It'll mess up the numbers if I put you in the back row now, Rose." "I could swap with someone." A sort of mask of crossness came over Miss Coralie's face because of Rose arguing. "Just stay where you were last week, next to Poppy. Thank you, Rose." So Rose stood next to me, but she didn't look very happy. It was no wonder, really. After all, I hadn't exactly been friendly with her at school. When we did the port de bras, Miss Coralie had to tell Rose to stop squashing Sophie, who was on the other side of her, and to stand a bit closer to me. I started wondering whether I smelled horrible or something then, because surely Rose wouldn't care about having to stand next to me all that much. I got another lovely from Miss Coralie for my port de bras, which gave me the crazy yes feeling, but still I didn't let it show. Then my heart started pounding with excitement as I thought, just wait till you see how well I can do the step sequence then. We did lots of beats after the adage, and during this part of the lesson, Miss Corley had to tell Rose to move up again because she was nearly jumping on Sophie's toes. Next we did the ordinary steps, and I saw from the clock on the wall that there wasn't much time left. I wish we could hurry up and get on with the step sequence that I'd practiced, and the dance. Now, said Miss Corley, this week, for a change, we're going to do any polishing work on last week's sequence. We're not going to do any polishing work on last week's sequence. Instead, I'm going to teach you another brand new set of steps because I think we need more practice on learning sequences at speed. My heart sank down to the elastic on my ballet shoes, and Jasmine turned round and gave me a worried look. I very nearly blurted out, "Please, can we do the one we did last week first?" But just managed to stop myself in time. Miss Corley wouldn't have been at all pleased if I'd tried to interfere with what she'd planned. The sequence seemed even more complicated than last week's. While Miss Corley was showing us all the steps, my eyes started to water from concentrating so hard on her feet, trying to remember when it should be left in front and when right, when to face the left corner, when to face the right. "Mark it through, Rose," said Miss Corley in a slightly puzzled voice. And that's when I noticed that Rose was standing completely still, staring straight ahead as though she was in a trance. "It's okay, thanks," she said politely. But Miss Corley obviously didn't find it very polite. From the look on her face, you'd think Rose had called her a big fat pig or something. Her voice came out louder than usual. "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you." Rose didn't go at all red, even though lots of people were giving her funny looks. She just started doing as she was told. A minute later, Miss Corley clapped her hands quite sharply. I think Rose had put her in a bad mood. "Right, let's try it a row at a time. Front row first." I watched Jasmine carefully, my mind racing away, trying to remember everything. "Not a bad attempt, front row. Second row, please." This was it. I took a deep breath and got ready to focus. And I tried my very hardest, but it was nearly as bad as last week. I could have burst into tears because everything was going wrong. We spent about 5 more minutes trying to improve the sequence. Then Miss Corley said that there wasn't time to start learning the dance. "Never mind, girls, we'll start it next week. Let's do the curtsy to finish." I wished I could sink down through the floor and go on sinking down and down in the dark and stay there forever. My last chance had gone now. Really, really gone. And that's it for today's reading. Tomorrow I'll start from chapter 10. Bye everybody, have a lovely day.